Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Here we are, Sam. Season 1, Episode 23. Exodus, Part 1. Russo returns with news that the others are coming. This leads Jack and the survivors further into the island in hopes of finding a way to open the hatch. Meanwhile, Michael and crew set sail. Here we are, man. Part 1 of season finale. What are we thinking? What are our thoughts?
Man, just emotional. This episode had me so emotional. And you know what? I think this episode alone just solved all the problems we had with the last couple episodes where the flashbacks felt like they were overtaking the main storyline because we're focusing on one person. This episode, we had multiple flashbacks from multiple people. I'm like, I think this is the way to go, you know?
And the flashbacks weren't even like really plot centric or thematically centric. It was just to kind of show like how far the characters have come.
What a great episode. What a great way to kick off the season finale. Yeah, again, here we are, episode 23. We've had all this time with all of these characters, and it's like an emotional gut punch when you have everybody just pushing the boat down the little ramp, trying to get it. And just like, man, like, look at how far everybody has come, and I'm so, I remember we were talking a couple episodes back where we were saying that, like, I wish there had been more, like, I wish there had been a whole episode, about everybody working on the boat. Well, that's kind of what we get this episode.
Right.
Everybody's working together, trying to get it out there. And even when there's some snafus and they got to fix stuff last minute, people are doing it. They're working on it. And we get just like this, we get this emotional connection that I don't know. I feel like it was very understated this whole time, but it works here. Whereas like everybody, like nobody is fighting to get onto the boat anymore. Now they know that this boat is a shot at their survival.
Right.
So everybody's working on this to make sure that these guys make it.
Yeah. Oh man, dude.
I love this show.
Yeah, this is one of the prime examples of like why this was event television. They really, because this is something that's we're seeing more and more, and I think Game of Thrones is a big example of how the what do you call the penultimate episode?
Yeah,
it's the one before. Game of Thrones is always episode 9, and then 10 is kind of the come down. They're kind of wrapping up loose ends, and then they're kind of teasing for the next season. Lost never did that. They're like, no, the penultimate episode is the last one. That was a big reason why a lot of people kept coming back. It was because of the season finales, and they're like, okay, we got to find out what happens next season. We're going to wait X amount of months because of this last episode. So everything from the quality to the writing, definitely what we said about the flashbacks, because it wasn't just the flashbacks, it's the on-island stuff as well. Everyone had something to do for the most part, and they were all coming in and out. The only ones who really didn't was Claire, but we still have 2 more episodes in this finale to go, so who knows?
Exactly.
But yeah, and then even the score it's been good. There's definitely some highlights of the season, but it was never better than this episode. We're like, whoa. Like you said, the scene where they're all trying to push the raft into the water was just so breathtaking. And then, of course, it doesn't work. But when they do it again at the end and they're saying their farewells, I'm like, oh, God. And we get a helicopter shot.
We do,
right? As they're going off into the ocean, we're like, oh man, what a great moment, man. Not just in television, Sam, but in life. Yeah, so I don't even know how to talk about this episode because so much happened with everyone. Where do we want to start? What do we want to?
Uh,
Okay, I got it. Let's start at the beginning because I'm looking at my notes here.
okay. Yeah.
Russo's back.
Yeah.
The others are coming.
I love
The
that.
others are coming.
I love her introduction this episode. You know, she just walks in. She doesn't make a sound.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she's just there sort of just looking around and looking at everybody sleeping, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Walt is the only one who knows that she's there. It's a very interesting way. Like from her first episode, she's just been like an enigma. And I love how this to this hour, you know, she is still that mystery character. We know she was a scientist. We know she's the last one of her expedition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know that she lost her family. We don't know anything else. We don't know anything about her. She's just been conceivably alone for about 16 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we do find a little more info this time.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that the others took her baby, which we already knew.
Mm-hmm.
The baby's name was Alex, and it's a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So we find that out. But yeah, Russo's basically just saying the others are coming because they lit this black smoke, and that's what they did last time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why, but I just want to give you guys a heads up. And that kind of splits everyone because a lot of half the camp not half, but a lot of the main characters, the important part of the camp, they they want to figure out what's going on. They want to get into the hatch. Hurley sees the hatch, and so does Russo. She has no idea what it is. And they said, okay, we're going to try and hide people in here. Locke has the idea, well, let's get some dynamite and blow it up. Because Russo's the one who had dynamite to protect her little home.
Yeah.
She blew up. So a lot of the main characters are going off into the island to the Black Rock in the Dark Territory. Oh,
there's so many cool names just being thrown out here this episode.
Those are two different ways to describe something not bright, dark, and black. Oh,
something ominous. Yeah.
Yeah. While everyone else is like, okay, we need to help the boat guys get off this island as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was bittersweet, and I really like it because, like I said, all these main characters are running into the island, so they kind of had to just do quick goodbyes. Michael, Jen, shake a hand. All right, see ya.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. Of course, unless you're Jack and you run into Sawyer in the woods, which was phenomenal, dude.
God, just what a I don't even know if I want to call it just a masterclass, but just God, what what a great callback to that episode,
right?
To the time where Sawyer just like learned that was Jack's dad he was talking to in the bar, and just like this was so interesting to me, and it's crazy because being meta about it, it's like I know that these characters are still on the island for at least another couple of seasons, you know,
right? Yeah, because at this point, X amount of years later, we know the show goes on for 6 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I'm like, so I know that, that eventually like the boat crew are going to end up back on the island, but just watching it for the first time here, I'm kind of taken back, and I feel like, obviously I'm watching it for the first time, but it was just gut wrenching, to see these two characters who have been at odds with each other the whole season finally just sort of like drop the BS, and Jack is just like, hey, good luck.
Yeah.
And in that moment, Sawyer doesn't know if he's ever going to see this guy again. So he has to let go of this one thing that he's carrying that he doesn't know what it's going to mean to Jack. Until he sees Jack's face, and until Jack has to turn away because he's crying. Yeah, hearing that his dad loved him.
I even love how long Sawyer waited to tell him. Like Jack was already taken off. He was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
But even before all that, the scene starts off, Jack's giving Sawyer a gun and ammo. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
watch yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there just shows you how far they've come. One, he's trusting him with a gun. Two, he's giving him a gun. They only have X amount. But yeah, and like they could have done this scene in Sawyer's episode when we saw that flashback of Sawyer meeting Jack's dad, but it wouldn't have been the same.
Mm-mm.
It's brilliant because not only did they probably know, okay, we're gonna save this for something good, but also that's not who Sawyer is.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have brought it up, except in this extreme situation where he knows there's a good chance he's never going to see Jack again.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked. It was just very realistic the way the scene played out. Both actors were just phenomenal. I'm like, oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
That the music, everything, that scene was great. I can't say enough good things about it. And it's so simple. And I think that's kind of where some of the brilliance is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a simple scene about Sawyer telling Jack, yeah, I had a drink with your dad, and this is what he said, but it's the power. It's everything Jack had always wanted to hear from his father, and his father wanted to say, but he just couldn't. And it's all coming out of Sawyer. He's just
Mm-hmm.
he's the messenger. Loved it. And
Brilliant.
to parallel that, almost exact opposite, Sawyer and Kate don't get to say bye.
Mm-hmm.
Their last scene, we talked about it, was a great scene in the last episode
Mm-hmm.
where they're still very much at odds, but it was a really good moment between the two of them at the campfire. And that was the last time they saw each other.
So, well, they're because they're together on the back end at the boat.
Mm-hmm.
They're just on the opposite sides of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And they both sort of do the thing where it's like they look at each other, but they never make eye contact.
Yeah, it's always at the wrong times.
Yeah, like Sawyer sees Kate, and then he's getting ready, and then Kate sees Sawyer, and then she gets ready, and then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I caught that too because Charlie's collecting all the letters for the message in the bottle, and Kate just asks like, "Have you seen Sawyer?" Like, no, I haven't. And then she takes a quick look around before they take off for the expedition.
Even like it's a pretty good shot. Like they're all walking around. She's still like looking back.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't see him. And then when they are leaving, it is kind of sad because like everyone's saying bye to everyone except Sawyer. Charlie gives him the bottle, and like I think he shakes his hand real quick, and that's it. That's literally the only character we see there telling Sawyer bye.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of looking around. So on one hand, it's like no one wants to tell him bye, and on the other hand, he is looking for Kate, and she's gone.
Yeah,
it's like there wasn't even a moment between him and Saeed or anything.
Yeah,
it's like, oh man,
it's two star-crossed lovers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Let's talk about the real heartbreak. Let's just jump into it. Walt.
Oh my God.
He gives his dog to Shannon. Oh. And I love because she's Shannon again. She's vicious Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
She's the same Shannon we see in her flashback. We're like, oh my God. Racist Shannon. You sold out Saeed.
Uh-huh.
Your one true love, and you didn't even know it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and she's even like, what are you talking about? You giving me your dog, And he explains, he's like, yeah, Vincent was there when his mom died and no one wanted to talk to him. And I like he said, he's a great listener. And you see like Shannon kind of like melting, like she's like, oh my God, this kid's giving me his dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh.
Yeah, it's this, again, it's this moment between two characters who I don't think have ever interacted before.
Right.
And yet they have this one moment together, and it becomes sort of like the emotional crux of the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's this thing of like of parting gifts and saying goodbye. you know? And yeah, like, yeah, you're right. Like Shannon has all of her walls and defenses up, you know, she's there, she's folding, like she's just doing whatever. Like she doesn't want to talk to anybody. And then Walt says, you know, like, yeah, like I like nobody wanted to talk to me after my mom died because they didn't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So I talked to Vincent. And the thing that gets her is when he says, maybe you can tell him about Boone. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's when everything melts away. And she like, we see.
I love it because a kid would be that direct.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So it's such a great moment. And I think it's interesting because everybody else who gets a flashback in this episode, they get the flashback and then they jump to the island.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon is the only one where we get the opposite. We get her scene on the island with Walt, and then immediately after that, it's the scene with her and Boone at the airport.
Yeah. Yeah, we get to see Boone again. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even notice that. Okay.
Yeah. And so I think that's interesting. I think deliberately that was done one to sort of I think it's just to like juxtapose again like how like, oh yeah, like this is where she started off, you know, and you know that's where she ended up, but everybody else got it the opposite way. I think for her it's sort of it was sort of telling because it's like we don't know what Shannon is capable of,
right?
And I think especially because that's where her flashback ends on. It ends on that note of, you know, you have no idea what I'm capable of, Boone. I think that is sort of a linchpin for her as a character, like her arc this episode or this season, to sort of pick up on next time, you know, to sort of be like, hey, and to also tell the audience like, hey, don't count out Shannon.
Yeah.
You don't know what she can do, you know?
And what's fascinating about these flashbacks is they're all at the airport, and it's almost like its own mini little show, its own little movie, because everything's connected, like all the way back from the beginning. The whole reason why Sawyer and Saeed were fighting in the first episode was because Sawyer's a racist, and he says he saw security pulling Saeed out of a line. And so he thinks, he's like, I think this guy's a terrorist. Well, this episode, season finale, we find out why that is. Because Shannon, she set him up for no reason, just to make a point to her stupid stepbrother / lover.
Yep.
So it's like this whole little like little microcosm, this little world that is the airport and everything that's happening. Because we also remember Jack's flashback, and I think it was even Sons. Like we see Jack in the background, yelling at like the ticket lady or whatever, because he's trying to get his dad's casket onto the plane. Remember that?
I remember.
Well, who else heard that?
Jin.
Yeah, and who else? Michelle freaking Rodriguez. She shows up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot she's in this.
Now, was she in that scene?
What? The original one?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
okay.
We would have seen her, I'm pretty sure. I doubt they're going to pay Michelle Rodriguez to fly out to Hawaii to be an extra. That doesn't even stand out.
Well, hang on a second, though, because at what point in Michelle Rodriguez's career was this? Because one, she's young.
Well, yeah, dude, but like she was a hit. She was a star from the beginning. She did Girl Fight, and then after that, it was like Fast and Furious, Blue Crush, SWAT, blah blah blah. Like she didn't really have like time to be like an indie actor. That came later.
Okay.
You know, IMDb her.
Yeah, I'm IMDbing right now.
Okay, so this episode was 2005.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is into it. Okay.
Okay.
Girl Fight was 2000. Fast and Furious was 2001. Oh, she was in Resident Evil. That's right.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, she was.
Blood Rain. Remember that movie?
No, I try not to. Okay.
Battle in
Well, I guess
Seattle.
that's a spoiler.
Wait, oh, you just saw how long?
Well, I saw how many episodes she's in, so
Oh,
I'm exiting IMDb. Okay, fine. The point of this was just to see at what point in her career did she was this. But yeah, okay. So this is after she's already been in blockbusters, kind of across the board.
yeah.
Um,
And that's the
okay.
thing too. That's the thing. Like when she showed up, it wasn't just, oh, cool, another character who's just one scene. Like the audience knew who Michelle Rodriguez was.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big surprises of the episode. Wait, Michelle Rodriguez isn't Lost?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Okay.
yeah. So that was that hit the news because everything in Lost hit the news.
I remember you saying that she was in the show. I remember like seeing her in like trailers and stuff and like the snippets of episodes that I would catch you and mom watching, but right up until that moment I had completely forgotten that she was in it.
Yeah.
So seeing her, I was just like, that face looks familiar. Who's that? Is that Michelle Rodriguez? Oh my god, that's Michelle. And yeah, her scene with yeah. What a name. Great name. And yeah, what a great scene.
What a great character too, just to pit, like, not against Jack, but they are very much like opposites but equals. Just that the whole thing, the way like the banter is, the flirting but not flirting, you know what I mean? Yeah, just everything. I like just how straightforward she is, just asking, so Dad's dead, huh? She did it a little more tactful than that, but that's basically what she's saying.
Yeah.
Bummer, huh? Buy me a drink.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just yeah, it was great. It was a great intro to her character. Oh, and they do get into details though. I thought it was very odd writing. It didn't really feel natural, but they painstakingly wrote it into the dialogue. She is in row 42F or whatever in the tail section.
Yep.
Right where the wheels come down beneath you. And Jack's like, oh, well, I'm in 23B or something, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, they're really setting up these seats interestingly, which 23 and 42 are two of Hurley's numbers.
That's right. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's right.
But yeah, they really made it a point to specify where each of these characters were on that plane. So, which means Ana Lucia was in the tail section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, okay, so that's an interesting thing to point out. God, it's gonna be so hard to like keep track of all the things that I already know about the show,
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that I've been struggling. Well, not really struggling with, but just like have to like remember, like, oh, okay, yeah, I know this character doesn't make it, that character doesn't make it. Oh yeah, I remember this happens at some point, which is why I'm trying not to do like the whole predictions.
Oh yeah,
which is why I'm trying not to be like, oh well, I think so and so is gonna appear, like all that stuff, like, because I also do have just like legitimate, like I wonder if they're gonna do that because I don't know,
yeah.
So I do know that some stuff comes up, so that's a very interesting detail that they make, and I feel like that is intentional. I'm pretty sure in the fact that it is intentional. I didn't think it was too unrealistic, but
yeah, maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably just you.
So, just for context, like I was saying, when this episode came out, this is something we don't really talk about too much either. Like, what exactly were the fans talking about in this episode? That's not something we really get to a lot. I mean, it's pretty much what we usually talk about, but like the Boone episode, like we got to start putting, by this point, there's so many like little different clues and stuff. They heard someone say, we're the survivors of Oceanic 815. Let's not forget that Rose was talking about her husband
in the tail section.
Yeah, in the tail section. So everyone on the like first forums ever everyone's talking about this stuff, like, oh, okay, well, blah, blah, blah. When Michelle Rodriguez steps out and they mention that she was on the tail section, boom, lights start going off because everyone already knows why the hell are they going to bring Michelle Rodriguez in for one scene in the season finale?
Mm-hmm.
So all the theories started coming like, so that's why I'm like, I feel like telling you this because it's not really a spoiler or anything. This is just what everyone was going through right at the time. You're like,
right.
Where's the tail section? Are there
Yeah.
more? We already have theories about all this other stuff on the island. Who was Boone talking to?
Mhm.
What happened to Rosa's husband? Is that ever going to get paid? Is that ever going to pay off?
Mhm.
Why would they bring Michelle Rodriguez in just for one scene?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and I can totally see that where, whatchamacallit, I can see that where I can see that even because even just thinking about it, like, yeah, okay, like the tail section of the plane didn't make it, but look at how many people did survive the crash that they were in, you know? And even though, like, I guess we did see like the tail section fall earlier, you know, in the crash itself, it kind of isn't that outside of, you know, the realm of possibility that, yeah, it's like the tail section could have survived.
I mean, even the pilot survived. He was the only survivor from the nose, but
yeah, exactly. So even he survived. So yeah, I can, you know, jumping back to 2005, you know, putting the clues together and all that, you know, I can totally see that. And yeah, Michelle Rodriguez's quote unquote cameo, you know, I would totally see that as being like, yep, this is official confirmation. Like the tail section is there.
Yeah.
They're people that survived.
It's also because she was such a big name at the time. They're not going to bring her in just for this one scene. In fact, we have 4 other characters leaving the island on a raft. All 4 of those actors were still very much unknown. So there's a much more higher probability that they're going to die. You know, maybe they're just, are they going to write off 4 characters all at once? Or will we eventually find out what happens to them? So it's more likely that someone we already know isn't going to make it or something like that, than Michelle Rodriguez only coming in for one scene.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was definitely everyone's thinking at the time. So, yeah. So we may or may not see more of her, Sam.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. Let's see what else. Let me consult my Google Doc.
Please do.
Oh, we have Arts. Arts is back. That was good to see him again.
Yeah.
I don't know why. What did he say? But my note is, oh, Arts, sweet summer guest star. What? Okay, so it was before they left.
Oh, was it before they left?
Yeah, it was before they left. That's where it's
I wonder if it was where it's like, look, you don't tell the fat guys secrets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Jack's like, how'd you know about that? Don't tell the fat guy secrets. Yeah, that guy's funny.
Yeah, that guy's funny. And see, so again, I never looked up that actor's name, but now that I see his face more, you know, we spent more time with him this episode. Like, oh yeah, he is definitely one of those actors. You know, I love those guys.
His name is Daniel Randall James Roebuck.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, he's one of the marshals in The Fugitive and U.S. Marshals.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if he's the guy with the mustache.
Oh, you know what? Probably.
Yeah. I was pictured him as being tall.
He was in both Agent Cody Banks.
Well, good for you. We're a fan.
Yeah, man, this guy's he's done a lot.
We're fans.
Oh, he's a Star Trek Next Generation for an episode. So he decides to go. Basically, Russo says, if you want dynamite, we got to go to the Black Rock. Art says, well, I got to go too. I'm a science teacher. I know how to move dynamite. I don't know about that. But it just seems like bad news. Like this guy's gonna die or something. He's the guest star just decides to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sure enough, he wimps out and he decides to head back to camp. Only for later, towards the end of the episode, they hear it was kind of creepy. Like you hear, like how would you do the noise? Like
it kind of sounded like a kind of like a chanting almost,
yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
like it did sound like that, and I was freaking out. I was like, wait, what the hell is going on in here? And then you see his face come out of the woods. He's like, run!
And then you hear the monster. Doosh, doosh. You're like, oh, the monster's back, Sam. We still haven't seen him, but monster hasn't been around for a long while.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy, while. Man. They end up hiding, like they all hide in a tree except for Locke and Hurley. Locke kind of just holds him back. And he's like, wait, just wait. And they're kind of waiting and listening, and it goes away. Like, interesting. And when they ask Russo what it is, she says, it's a security system for the island.
That is one hell of a security system.
I know. I want that for my house.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you got to turn off your island security monster, before you you got to have the right passcode,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and it's weird because it still sounds like metallic.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a machine, right?
Yeah, it sounds like a machine, but it has a distinctive roar. And so now my one prediction is that I think this thing is just a freaking Mecha Godzilla.
Right. Yeah. It's all like little tribesmen like in the trees pulling its ropes. So pretty much that group, that story ends when they get to the Black Rock, Sam. And what is the Black Rock? Because you were texting me as it happened. I was like, yes.
This whole time, I'm imagining like the Black Rock is some sort of like spot on the beach or something where it's just like it's the black stone, that's like there. And I'm imagining just like it's midnight black. Yeah, it's like dragon glass. It's obsidian, it's this, place, whatever. And they're going into the middle of the jungle. And I'm like, where is it? Because they don't sound like they're near a beach. So my whole perception is that. And then Russo says, this is the Black Rock. And the camera turns and it's a giant ship. Mm-hmm. It's a boat. It's a giant ass boat just in the middle of the jungle. I freaked out. I was like, what? It's a ship? Oh my God. It's genius. Like once again, the show just continues to just pull the carpet from underneath my feet. And I'm like, I think it's one thing. I think it's going to go one way and then it swerves hard left. And I'm like, that's even better. That's even cooler. This is an island story. This is a story about people stranded on an island, a bunch of crazy stuff all around. There's a freaking stranded boat there. That's awesome. The show is just entirely my aesthetic. I love it. I love it.
That was crazy, man. Because I'm trying to see what kind of ship it is. It just says like a 19th century fully rigged shipping ship.
Yeah. And I don't know enough about like the different like boats and vessels,
I can confirm it is a boat.
Oh, yes. I saw the mast,
Yeah, man. And then that's their cliffhanger. That's the last we see of them for this episode. After that, we get to see everyone saying their final goodbyes as the raft crew jump on board and head out. And Vincent follows. He's swimming. He's doggy paddling into the water.
He wants to go so bad.
Yeah, Walt's like, no, Vincent, go back. And he eventually does. He goes back with his new mom, Shannon.
and the music is just sweeping, and there's tears, and everybody's waving goodbye, and then they throw up the sail, you know, and they're like, ha ha, you know, they're there, and they're clasping hands of friendship, like, yeah, and you're just like, man, I really hope nothing bad happens to these people.
I'm sure nothing will.
I'm sure nothing terrible is going to happen to any of these people. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's kind of where the episode ends, you know, like they all go off, and then it cuts real quick to the giant tower of smoke. That's about, I think Russo said it's about like 5 miles away.
Yeah.
Cause that's exactly what happened to her team before
and
the
they
others
play the very
arrived.
ominous music as they do so. And it cuts to black.
So I want to go ahead and just jump in to
What
MVP.
are we jumping into? Oh, MVP.
I want to jump into MVP.
Okay.
And I want to ask you this.
Ooh.
Is it possible to give the MVP
to everyone?
To the ensemble?
Interesting.
Because one, here's the reason why. Because one, there's not a main person that we're following this episode. This is the first time, maybe since the pilot, that this has felt like an ensemble. You know, truly an ensemble. Because that was kind of the thing with, well, like Game of Thrones or Mad Men. You know, it's like you do have your main character and your Ned Stark or your Don Draper. You know, but the shows are still ensemble. And at a certain point, obviously, you know, Game of Thrones, they lose Ned Stark, but it becomes sort of about everybody else around them. Yeah. And so, yeah, like they all just like inform the plot. That's how I feel about this episode. Like we have had our own main characters throughout this entire season, but this is the first time that the show truly, for me at least, becomes an ensemble because everybody's getting their own flashbacks and then everybody has their own things to do and they all get to do something. And yeah, I just feel like everybody who gets a flashback absolutely brings it in both their flashback and in the congruent scene, like right after. Yeah. And I was feeling it. One, I felt it in Kate's because Kate has absolutely nothing to say in her flashback. It's just the Marshal talking. Damn Marshal. The damn Marshal talking to the airport security officer about why he needs 5 guns. And he's telling him the backstory of Kate and why she's so dangerous and why he needs the 5 guns, all that stuff. And I was thinking about him, like, even this scene, everything that Evangeline Lilly is doing is informed by the Marshal. You know, she's just, she's not even trying to play it cool. She's just like not trying to react. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing, you know? And then it's just like, it's one thing that just sets it off and then boom, there you go. But what really got me and what really was like, there's absolutely no way I can give MVP to not everybody was the scene with Sun and Jin, because they're like, one, their flashback is really cool because this obviously is after after like the gate check, because right? I guess so. Well, because the Jack thing isn't necessarily at the gate. He's just at like the ticket counter to like check in, I guess. Yeah. So they're not automatically going to board at that moment. And we know from Sun's flashback that moment where they're standing in line and Jack's holding it up, that's the moment where she was going to leave. So this feels like it's after that moment. It does feel like it. So I feel like this is after because they're waiting to board the plane. Yeah. And she was gone. She went to go get coffee. She could have split. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But the way that original flashback for her ended was that she chose to stay. She chose to stay with her husband. And I feel like that's where those scenes play out. And I feel like it's informed, especially by the other couple that's in that flashback. They are just talking such mad shit about Sun being subservient to, you know, her husband and all that. It's like, it's like Memoirs of a Geisha for real. Like, man, just two ugly people.
I like to think they were on the nose section of the plane and they both died.
Yeah.
Slowly. They survived the crash and they starved to death because they couldn't get out of their seatbelts.
I like to think they're in the part of the plane that it was like it connected the tail section to the rest of the fuselage, but they like their section just really just like was chunked out, ripped off, and it flew into the ocean and they slowly sank and then drowned. That's what I like to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because F those people.
Hey, they could have been the two at the bottom of the lake.
No, because
the
those
little waterfall.
Oh. I hope that's them. Now that you say
now
that,
you say it, yeah.
Now that you say it, God, I hope that was them because they're just two assholes, man.
Yeah,
I hated those characters, and I really wanted Sun to tell them something, but obviously at that point in her, in her story, she doesn't have the same confidence that she has now on the island. So anyway, jumping from that scene to her essentially last reaction, her last interaction with her husband on the island, they make up. They come like it's not coming clean, but it's like they talk to each other, and she still, because both of those things, and this is the thing about everybody's flashbacks this episode, is that it accentuates their character, and it does show them like where they were before they got on the island and where they're at now. Jack is somebody who was wanting to run away, didn't know how to interact with people, didn't know how to talk about things. And here he's taking charge. He's like, okay, we need to do this. We got to get these people off the island. Sawyer is very selfish. He doesn't, he's just like, yeah, I'm never coming back here anyway, blah, blah, blah. And what does he do? He feels useless for not knowing how to fix the boat. And he goes off into the woods and cuts down another piece for the mast by himself without anybody asking. He's measured it. He's like, yeah, I got it. I did it. Here we go. Like, he's come so far in everything that we've done. With Sun and Jin, that flashback is sort of theirs co-equally. It's showing the power dynamic where Sun is still very like, she is kind of, like subservient to her husband, and she feels very meek, and Jin, is just kind of like a little afraid of the intimacy that she's showing, but he's still in charge and all that. Their end scene, she's still doing things for him. She made him a chart of words that he might need for being on the boat. The first word he said is starboard, and it's in that moment that he realizes that like his wife loves him. She was going to leave, and it's like in that moment where he just breaks down. He's like, you don't understand, like I have to leave because I'm being punished. I'm being punished because I didn't take care of you. This is how I can take care of you.
That's such a good line. Like, his delivery of that, it's in another language, so we're all reading subtitles, but the power behind that line is just like, oh man. That's the thing. Like he knew Sun loved him, but it was kind of like all that guilt and stuff he's been holding in kind of just like came out.
Exactly.
And
exactly. And it's in that moment again where in the flashback he's afraid of the intimacy of like his wife doing something for him, of them being as romantic or as close. Completely and utterly all of that is stripped away, and he's crying in front of his wife. They embrace, they hug, they have such a passionate kiss with each other that I was just like, I was blown away. I started crying as soon as Jin started crying. So by the time they kissed, I was like, that's it. That's it. Just throw everything else away. Like nothing else is gonna happen. There's no more. It's the rest of the show is how everybody gets off the island. It's
they're
6
rescued
seasons.
and they live happily ever after.
They live happily ever after. Nothing else happens. The others are just those. I don't care. Yeah. But for me, that's one. I feel like that was the best scene of the whole episode, and for me, it's sort of like, I don't know. Yeah, I could just cheat and say like, no, I'm going to give it to both of them in that scene. but I feel like it's compounded on top of literally everything else that happened, literally everybody else's performance. Those two just really knocked it out of the park. And so that's why I feel like we should just give it to the ensemble.
Well, okay, if you're gonna give it to ensemble, I'm gonna give it to Giacchino.
Giacchino? Okay.
Is that how you say it, right? Giacchino?
Yeah.
Again. Because everything, all the scenes, all the music in this was great. The best being, of course, the end when the raft is setting sail. But just everything. Even the island just being creepy as hell. They're walking around in the jungle and doom, 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 doom. It's little music like, oh wow. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when the music is telling you what you should feel, I'm like, I got it. Oh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I will just say, I think I'll also just give a shout out. I'll give kudos to Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, because they wrote this episode, and I think this is the culmination of their work this season, of just all the from the very hasty production, at the beginning, just to get the pilot made, just to get it on air. From there to here, they've come so far. And honestly, I feel like this makes up for the bad Ethan episode, the bad Charlie episode. I feel like this totally makes up for it. And I'm so glad that the show was able to continue, because that could have been the end. That episode could have been the end of Lost as we know it. And then it's just like, oh yeah, it's just the show had a great start, but it wasn't there. And what a bummer of an ending that would be. But honestly, here, this episode, everything that they've done just totally makes up for that. And you know what? If this was the end of Lost, I guess basically what I'm trying to say is I'm so glad that we got that out of the way so that we can make it to this moment, and we can make it, to this emotion. And I thought, this is top tier. Top tier storytelling. This is top tier filmmaking. This is top tier act. This is everything. This is, for me, one of the best episodes of this entire season.
I'm trying to think if there's a better one. I mean, we've talked about the best, like the episode where Boone dies. Obviously, that is, again, and up to that point, best episode of the season. Yeah.
But for me personally, I think this one. Yeah.
And I think a big part of that too is like what we've been saying. It's because all the storylines are coming together. Everything we've had this season so far, all the different characters, the stories are starting to tie together. So I think that's what really sells the episode well. Okay, well, predictions. Because we got one episode, technically two, I don't know, whatever. We got next week, it's the season finale.
Yeah.
Exodus parts 2 and 3 together.
Yeah.
So was there anything this episode that made you get any predictions for the finale or even beyond?
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about predictions, because I was just so blown away by the ending. I feel like we're not going to see the boat. That part of the finale is done. So I don't think we're going to see Michael, Jin, Sawyer, and Walt. Yeah. Sorry, that's what I mean. The raft. Yeah. I don't think we're going to see the raft next episode. If we do, fantastic. But I feel like that was such a great ending for them this season that we probably don't need to see them again.
Right. Okay. All right.
Maybe. Yeah. Again, prediction. I feel like we might not see the others. I feel like their presence is going to push the island, push, like the survivors inward towards the island, towards the interior of the island. But I don't think we're really going to see them.
It does seem like a lot, seeing that, okay, you technically, lengthwise, you have 2 episodes left. Can you introduce more characters in that amount of time? It seems like that would be a little rushed. So I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, it does seem like that. And it could be completely wrong, but that's kind of what I feel like right now. Like I want to just come up with like crazy backstory now for the Black Rock.
Yeah.
I feel this is the one thing I say I think maybe not next episode, definitely not next episode, but certainly somewhere down the line, I think we're going to see potentially flashbacks of the Black Rock.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Because instantly, as soon as I saw it, I was like, it would be really fucking cool is if we wake up one season, just like random episode, like in between, like this, like the cool arcs or whatever. We get one episode. We see somebody wake up. They're on a boat. They look out, and they're in the sea. They look out the porthole and, see the sea or whatever. And we kind of see them get dressed and they go out and they're on the Black Rock sailing, Yeah. And this show doesn't do, like title cards or whatever, like 1778 or anything like that. But I just think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
If we could see, some of that.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts, comments, or concerns before we get into the end of season 1?
Oh man. Well, I mean, this has been pretty crazy because, it took us a little bit, but we're finally here.
We got it. Yeah.
We're here. We're at the end of season 1.
It's crazy how, I guess how long it took us. I don't know. I mean, because we did one a week. And there were some breaks. Like Christmas was a good break. We took like a month off.
We did. We really did. But I feel like we still kind of knocked this out pretty quickly, especially given how like we just gave ourselves the 1 episode a week.
Yeah. Man, that just shows you how long this pandemic's been going on.
It's like, God, I know.
We didn't even start at the beginning.
It took us a little bit.
I watched To Boldly Watch, the Star Trek Next Gen podcast from the Good Time Society.
Mm-hmm.
They're already on season 3. And they started in this pandemic.
Wow.
1 a week. That's how long we've been here.
Jesus.
So, all right. Well, next time it's going to be crazy because we're going to be talking about Lost season 1, episodes 24 and 25, Exodus, parts 2 and 3. The Black Rock has been found. Now, the survivors must find a way to transport the dynamite across the island before the others arrive. Meanwhile, the island presents new challenges for the other survivors. Did that make sense?
I mean, kind of.
Sure. Sure.
Wow. Right there, just end the episode. Just put the music and sure.
Just because you did have a question and it was kind of hinted at in the thing. So I'm like, I'll just
the description.
Yeah, like I'll just that's the description as vague and narrow as it is.
Okay, cool. So
the rest has been blacklisted.
Cool.
Yeah.
Redacted.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, okay, so making an executive decision, guys, because we have been talking about, if you got questions for Sam and myself, send us questions at hashtag Ask Sam and Matt. In sake of branding, we're just gonna try and just keep it all the same. Hashtag Lost Legacies.
That works.
The reason I avoided the Lost Legacies hashtag is because if you go to the hashtag Lost Legacies, you're going to find a bunch of crazy, wild conspiracy theorists, just a lot of wackos, and it doesn't really look like the place for a good political debate and conversation. In fact, it's the exact opposite. And there's also a lot of video game talk because of Uncharted Lost Legacies.
Oh, well.
So it's both of those. So I'm like, you know what? To hell with them. Let's flood Twitter, baby. We're going to take all those nut jobs off. I want to see Lost Legacies questions, damn it. About anything from the season, about predictions for, well, that's going to be kind of weird because people might have already seen it. Just thoughts, comments, concerns. Try to put no spoilers in there at all. Also, of course, Sam and myself are willing to answer questions not Lost related as well.
That's true.
Advice? Sure. Let us know. Sam has done a really good job on this podcast about marriage advice. So if you need,
have
I think so. Being a non-married man, I think you've given some good advice. I think we have both offered great fatherly advice, being two men who have no children. I think we did pretty good for ourselves. So if you got questions about getting married and or having children, ask away. Hashtag Lost Legacies. That's the place to be. Especially as we wrap up season 1 and we're going to jump into season 2. Let's just make the brand ours. Lost Legacies, baby.
I agree. I agree. And you know what? I'll even say this because we've done a couple of episodes that also have nothing to do with Lost. You know, we did our Christmas episode. We did our very late Valentine's Day episode. We even did an entire episode on the
Kristen Stewart episode.
The sleeper hit of 2020, Underwater, starring Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
K-Stu as her true friend. True fans know her. We did a whole episode just talking about that movie, you know, and that's kind of the conceit of this whole show. You know, it gives my brother and I, who are unfortunately separated from or due to this global pandemic.
Cross your fingers. Yeah, we're getting close. We're getting close.
Yeah, we got our first shots. So, you know, that's great. That's great. Soon enough, we might be doing this in person.
I know. And then we're going to have to redo all our audio all over again.
It's going to be a nightmare. Oh, we might just keep this up. We might just have to keep doing it this way. But, you know, again, like this was an avenue to allow my brother and I to still hang out and talk about, you know, the things that we really love talking about, you know, getting passionate about nerd things and, you know, geeking out about like, oh yeah, we love storytelling, you know, all that. This is our avenue to do that. So while we are first and foremost, you know, talking about the show Lost, we also just love to talk about anything, you know? So yeah, you know, we talk about, you know, relationship advice, you know, just put it under Lost Legacies. Like we, if you can't tell already,
do we have some hot takes?
Oh, we got some hot take. Definitely don't get us started on Game of Thrones. That derailed us for like an entire episode.
Yeah.
It took like 20-minute like rant on that. But you know, yeah, that's what we do. If you haven't noticed by now, my brother and I really love to talk, and we can talk for a long time. So yeah, send us your questions, send us your thoughts, you know, hashtag Lost Legacies. Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe wherever our podcast can be found.
And share. Share it in the world.
Share it with the world.
We're on all continents. Podcast. We're on all continents except Africa.
And Antarctica.
Well, we don't know because I guess the stats don't have Antarctica on there.
That's ridiculous.
Maybe they do. Maybe we're a huge hit in Antarctica.
There's hopefully, if you are in Antarctica, please send us your questions
at hashtag Lost Legacies.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to jump up in my DMs, you can find me at _Matt Jimenez on the Twitter and at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch on Instagram.
I really feel like you just need to make your Instagram handle a lot shorter.
Nope. The whole reason I got on Instagram is because I came up with that handle. I'm like, hey, that's a good one.
Wow.
Because just like mostly everything else, I'm like, I'm not gonna get on Instagram. It's just pictures. And I was like, oh, this would be a really cool handle. So I did it. I made it. I was on the rooftop of my apartment in LA. Los Feliz. I had a beer. I was just in the dark watching the lights from the observatory and the Griffith Park is observatory. I'm gonna make myself an Instagram. Here we go. Never been the same since.
Apparently. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Reel, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Cool. So until next time, get lost.